how the New York Times actively vouched for the veracity of its false narrative.
He didn't leave quietly. When Blake Lively's well-known attorney, Daniel Keene, stepped down, the resignation memo he submitted reportedly carried a chilling title: "This will destroy you." It was far from a routine professional exit. It looked more like a bold declaration against the turmoil he claimed surrounded the case. On May 30th, 2025, the legal atmosphere in Hollywood shifted dramatically when Keene officially cut ties, leaving behind a series of leaked documents that portrayed what many observers later described as a
want all evidence to come out that's proper and appropriate evidence.
Publicity stunt that spiraled out of control. His sudden departure immediately raised serious questions about how badly things had broken down behind the scenes, and whether Blake Lively's legal strategy had ventured into risky, uncharted territory. The fallout began instantly, and there was no turning back. Keene's departure wasn't simply a lawyer leaving a client, it was a revelation. That same morning, he allegedly released 64 internal emails along with 17 draft legal documents, exposing what insiders described as a courtroom strategy driven heavily by public relations.
Through her PR about Blake Lively and some other craziness going on with this entire case.
The disclosures went beyond embarrassment. They revealed an environment where legal tactics appeared closely intertwined with influencer-style campaigns. According to reports, the documents included Slack discussions outlining hashtag strategies and notes about trending headlines, treated with the same attention one might give to selecting YouTube thumbnails. To critics, it suggested the focus wasn't strictly justice. It looked more like a relentless pursuit of viral momentum, laying the groundwork for an eventual collapse. The reason behind Keene's drastic decision.
Parties have withdrawn their harassing subpoenas to Taylor Swift and her law firm. We supported the efforts of Taylor's team to quash these inappropriate subpoenas directed to her counsel, and we will continue to stand up for any third party who is unjustly harassed or threatened in the process. Oh my God, what a big...
Soon became clear: fear. His resignation memo reportedly warned that several of the proposed strategies could violate American Bar Association ethics standards and potentially trigger federal scrutiny. For a Harvard-educated attorney dedicated to lawful and ethical advocacy, the situation appeared deeply alarming. Remaining on the case, he allegedly felt, could place his own career and even his personal freedom at risk. Faced with what he viewed as an ethical crisis, where spectacle seemed to overshadow...
That Justin has withdrawn the subpoena sent to Taylor and her legal team after the firm objected to the amount of the unwarranted fishing expedition, etc., etc.
Legal propriety, Keene chose to walk away rather than continue representing a client whose approach, in his view, could jeopardize everything he had built professionally. Critics quickly began describing Blake's case as an example of narrative litigation, arguing that many filings seemed designed more to generate public reaction than to secure victory in court. Reports claimed the documents were filled with pop culture references and mentions of well-known figures like Hugh Jackman, with suggestions to reference celebrities in
comedy and insanity. It literally contradicts itself, and it's not even admissible because of certain things that are in there.
Order to keep media attention alive. The strategy blurred the boundary between legitimate legal advocacy and a carefully staged media spectacle. Instead of focusing purely on verifiable evidence, critics said the filings appeared crafted to tell a dramatic story, one meant to influence public perception as much as judicial decisions. Observers later labeled the strategy shock and seal. According to commentators, it followed a pattern. Information would surface.
Never met Blake. New humiliation for Lively as singer outs the glaring red flags she missed during their 10-year friendship.
through blog leaks, and soon afterward, legal filings would appear that seemingly reinforced the same narrative. Supporters of Blake Lively rejected this interpretation, but critics insisted the emphasis looked aimed at generating headlines and driving tabloid coverage, rather than achieving purely legal objectives. The controversy reignited debate about the ethics of media-driven litigation, particularly in Hollywood's intensely competitive publicity environment, where public perception can sometimes overshadow the underlying truth.
Just completely disheveled and trying to figure out what's going on. Or at that time, I'm thinking she didn't just say delete text messages. There had to be more context.
Concerns grew even more serious when allegations about evidence surfaced. Reports suggested that text messages from 2018, central to Blake's claims, may have been submitted in edited form. A forensic analysis allegedly discovered irregularities in the metadata, sparking intense debate about the authenticity of the material. Supporters of Blake Lively firmly denied any manipulation. Nevertheless, the accusations heightened scrutiny of the entire case. Some legal commentators argued that sanctions might be warranted if the filings were proven improper, though no definitive ruling ever confirmed such penalties. The aggressive legal tactics reportedly extended even further. Subpoenas were said to have targeted individuals connected to Justin Baldoni's past, including
this lawsuit was going to come out because remember, we found those early October dates about, with the New York Times, embedded in the New York Times, going back.
A childhood therapist. In another surprising development, a fitness professional linked to Taylor Swift was allegedly pulled into proceedings under a theory that they might have observed behavioral patterns. Legal experts openly questioned whether these moves had any real relevance. Some analysts warned that such sweeping subpoenas could weaken the broader argument rather than strengthen it, while critics described the tactic as excessive, an attempt to drag unrelated people into an expanding media drama. One particularly controversial filing reportedly opened with the line, "I am the Jane Doe of modern Hollywood," immediately drawing sharp criticism from observers. Many described the language as theatrical and exaggerated rather than legally meaningful. Kane himself allegedly referred to the document as trauma storytelling wrapped in graphic design, suggesting that its presentation focused more on emotional impact than factual substance. To critics, it perfectly illustrated the narrative-first strategy, where dramatic presentation overshadowed the legal foundation of the argument. Blake Lively's strategy reportedly went beyond personal narrative. According to critics, several individuals, including Melissa Nathan, Baldoni Incorporated, and Jamie Heath, were implicated without clear supporting evidence. Some commentators noted that the court itself allegedly referred to the accusations as a form of defamation by association, implying that the claims lacked substantial factual grounding. Critics argued this approach reflected a broader pattern of headline-driven litigation, where storytelling and media spectacle replaced traditional evidence-based arguments. The dispute soon began to resemble something far removed from a conventional courtroom battle. Observers described it as a highly dramatized spectacle, almost like a cinematic production layered with pop culture references and sensational storytelling. In their view, the situation had escalated beyond a straightforward legal disagreement into a media event fueled by chaos and attention. As the conflict intensified, critics claimed the strategy ultimately entangled Blake Lively's entire legal team in a situation that became increasingly difficult to manage. Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's husband, was also reportedly more involved than many initially believed. Sources claimed he participated in strategy discussions and at one point suggested incorporating references from Deadpool, Marvel dialogue, and comedic sketches into legal arguments. For many legal professionals, the idea seemed astonishing and highlighted what they saw as a disconnect from traditional courtroom strategy. Additional reports claimed there were even attempts to suggest that Hugh Jackman had influenced public opinion, an argument critics widely dismissed as far-fetched and unrelated to legitimate legal objectives. One leaked internal message dated May 7th allegedly revealed what critics described as the campaign's true focus. The message reportedly stated, "We don't need to win legally, we need to win the internet." To many observers, that line captured the entire strategy. Analysts quickly labeled it a serious miscalculation, arguing that it openly prioritized viral impact and social media dominance over legal substance. In their view, the statement symbolized a litigation approach driven less by justice and more by narrative control. The allegations involving Reynolds went even further. Some reports claimed that Disney's promotional budget for the Deadpool franchise may have been used in ways connected to the campaign against Justin Baldoni. If accurate, critics argued it would suggest corporate marketing resources were being redirected toward a personal dispute, something that could raise serious ethical and legal questions. Inside the courtroom, the situation reportedly became equally chaotic. Within 1 month alone, Blake's legal team allegedly filed more than a dozen motions. Legal analysts claimed many appeared rushed and poorly structured, with arguments that some observers believed resembled ideas circulating on public forums. 2 filings were reportedly flagged under Rule 11, signaling concerns that the motions might be frivolous and unnecessarily consume court resources. Judges were said to have described certain submissions as overly dramatic or lacking substantive legal grounding. Reports also suggested the filings included an unusual mix of pop culture references, Marvel quotes, comedic bits, and even memes. Some insiders jokingly labeled the situation BuzzFeed Courtroom Edition, arguing that the documents resembled viral content more than formal legal pleadings. One observer famously described them as a press junket written in Times New Roman, highlighting how entertainment seemed to overshadow serious legal reasoning. Beyond the courtroom, the conflict allegedly strained personal relationships across Hollywood. Sources claimed that Taylor Swift privately told friends she regretted ever becoming close to Blake Lively, interpreting the situation as a deep personal betrayal. According to reports, the fallout marked the end of a decade-long friendship and underscored how the controversy had spilled into the industry's inner circles. Further reports suggested Swift might be cooperating with Justin Baldoni's legal team. Legal professionals in Los Angeles reportedly viewed this development as significant. Some argued that Swift's willingness to engage, rather than remain silent, suggested the situation had reached a serious level. To critics, her stance signaled clear disapproval of Blake Lively's approach. Social consequences reportedly followed quickly. Travis Kelce and Sophie Turner were rumored to have distanced themselves from the couple. Observers pointed out that Turner allegedly unfollowed Blake on Instagram while still following Ryan Reynolds, a move many interpreted as deliberate and symbolic. The shift illustrated how quickly friendships can fracture when public controversies escalate. Professional consequences soon appeared as well. Blake Lively's luxury skincare partnership reportedly ended on June 4, 2024, shortly after a lengthy legal filing from attorney Brian Friedman highlighted alleged weaknesses in her claims. The brand quietly removed her name, citing unforeseen circumstances. For industry analysts, it signaled that even the usually cautious beauty sector was unwilling to risk the reputational damage associated with the controversy. After Keene's resignation, the legal situation grew even more complicated. Reports suggested that 2 prominent law firms declined to take Blake's case, warning that they were not equipped to handle what they described as media-driven turmoil. One firm allegedly remarked, "We're not a PR agency," a comment critics interpreted as a warning about the professional risks involved in representing her. Publicist Leslie Sloan also became entangled in the controversy. According to reports, she may have edited certain court filings to increase their impact on social media, adding emotional phrasing, hashtags, and dramatic language. Analysts criticized the practice, calling it public relations strategy rather than
legitimate legal advocacy, and warning that it blurred ethical boundaries between litigation and influencer marketing. Blake Lively's resignation memo reportedly ended with one particularly harsh assessment: "You don't need a defense, you need therapy." The remark echoed across Hollywood's legal circles and was widely interpreted as a sign of how far the case had strayed from traditional practice. To critics, it symbolized the collapse of a strategy built on spectacle rather than solid evidence. In the end, Blake Lively's legal battle became a cautionary story about the dangers of blending celebrity culture, social media influence, and courtroom proceedings. Attempts to transform legal filings into viral content allegedly led to serious consequences, professional setbacks, strained relationships, and mounting scrutiny. From leaked documents to brand separations and social fallout, the saga illustrated what can happen when publicity overshadows substance. For many observers in Hollywood, it became a lasting lesson about the risks of turning litigation into performance.